Hello everyone and welcome to this AND session. It's great to have your company for another really informative and what we hope will be an inspirational chat with a fantastic guest this evening. It's Arron Ashton. And Arron, I'm going to get chatting with you in a minute if that's okay, because I'm really interested about your journey as a designer, neurodivergent entrepreneur. So it's going to be a really interesting chat, this one. But first of all, I just want to explain the great work that we do here at AND. Of course, my name's Donna Stevenson and I'm always your host for these conversations. AND is the Adult Network, Neurodiversity and Dyslexia, and we are a coalition of many organisations. Our aim is to create a safe space for our adult community. Who's a part of that coalition? Well, it is growing all the time. And if you tuned in last time, you will have heard us welcome the Dyslexia Association, and Kay Carter's here with us again this evening. Hi, Kay.
Hello.
Hi. Can you tell us a bit about what you guys do at the Dyslexia Association?
Yeah, we're a charity. We've been going for 50 plus years now. Mainly in Nottingham and the East Midlands, and along with my colleagues here, we provide a range of various different services, from diagnostic assessments, screenings, specialist tuition, workplace support. We do work across the UK, but as I say, we're kind of Nottingham born and bred.
Yeah, brilliant. That's great to hear. Thank you, Kay. And great to have you as the newest member of our AND coalition.
Thank you.
One of our founding members is the Adult Dyslexia Centre, and we're always joined by Sue Flohr, their manager there. Hi, Sue.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah,
tell us a bit about what you guys get up to, Sue.
Yeah, we haven't been going quite as long as Kay, only 21 years, I think. And we grew out of the fact that children grew up and they had nowhere to go to. So our centre was formed for those who were moving on. And we provide more or less all the same services as Kay, tutoring, needs assessments, a lot, you know. And yeah, we're just there for adults, really. But parents do contact us for help with their children. We have two support groups, one online and one face-to-face, and we have a helpline. So we're there for anyone that's got any questions about dyslexia.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Sue. And big thanks to you guys for all you do for the community. That brings me on to Hampshire Dyslexia Association, and we're joined by Chair Sue McKenna. Hi, Sue.
Hi, Donna. Hi, everybody. We're in Hampshire as a charity, and we cover Southampton, Portsmouth and the Isle of Wight. We are a virtual organisation in that we don't have premises, and we chiefly work in signposting our assessors, our tutors, our employers to where they can find support. We have a bursary scheme which links in with one of our partners, the Helen Arkell Dyslexia Charity, which is ongoing and very successful. And we've recently had a very successful conference in the Isle of Wight where all but 3 schools on the island attended, and we're just working with organisations and employers on the Isle of Wight to support young people going through apprenticeships or work-based placements to understand ADHD and perhaps neurodiversity in general, and what problems they may cause. You're nodding there, Arron. What problems they may cause in the workplace, and to put in some strategies. We have a helpline, and where Donna will share all of our details. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you, Sue. I think we were all nodding there because your work is brilliant, what you do in that part of the world. Thank you for
Thank you.
What you do to support the community. And you're quite right. I'll be sharing the contact details for all the coalition members right at the end of our chat with Arron this time around. But we're also joined by the chair of the Yorkshire Rose Dyslexia Association, Pat Payne. Hi, Pat.
Hi, Donna. Right.
Tell us a bit about what you guys do in Yorkshire. The list is a long one. Pat, isn't it? You guys are
Well,
busy over there.
as much as, well, for a virtual one-man band, we don't do too badly. Our problem, like most of the associations, is we just do not have enough people working. We have no paid staff at all. Our association virtually runs from the seat I'm sitting on now. We do have other people who help, but everybody's busy, people working, busy lives, parents looking after children. I just wish we had more helpers. We could do even more than we do. The helpline, I have to say, for the last 2 days, I have had no calls, which is absolutely unheard of. I think must be everybody getting ready for Christmas, because I've just never had a day, I don't think, without a call. So that's possibly good, possibly bad, I don't know. But yeah, we do what we can. And our main focus, as Donna well knows, is we're looking to do a festival in March. We hope that will be similar to what we've done in the past, hopefully more people. And where will that take us? We don't know, but we just try our best to help as many people who call the helpline as they possibly can. And my other thing is that I also teach, no, I don't teach, I facilitate touch typing. I think I've got about 60 youngsters over the last 7 years who have learned to type at 30 words a minute with 90% accuracy. And that's absolutely amazing. I am going to stop come July because I can't keep going on a Saturday morning, but I am going to stop, and I would love it in schools, but schools will just not accept that these children can work so much better when they can type.
Well, thank you, Pat, for all that you do. And that festival, I attended the one earlier this year. It was amazing. I can't wait to come see you guys in 2025. Brilliant work. So somebody else who does brilliant work is our guest this evening. It's Arron Ashton. So I'm going to stop sharing my AND slides so we can have a good old chat now with Arron. But as the group said, at the very end, I will be sharing contact details for the associations and some of our members of the coalition that, you know, we haven't really spoke about yet. So we've got Neurobox, SucceedWithDyslexia, Helen Arkell Dyslexia Charity as well. But Arron, thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. I can't wait. So I'm going to introduce you and then I really want to start chatting. We've kind of called this session Neurodiversity is My Inspiration. And it's a great title actually, Arron, because you are essentially a fashion designer, a neurodivergent fashion designer, and your company is called Fool 22. And we're going to get into what you do there. And hopefully when we share this recording, we'll have some images of your great work as well, but we'll give folks information about where they can go and find out more. But to start us off then, Arron, tell us about your journey with neurodiversity.
So I was late diagnosed. I was diagnosed with dyslexia at 17 while I was at college. Was diagnosed with autism at 22 and then ADHD at 23 last year. So now I'm 24. Yeah. So it's been a learning journey really. Like when I started out, I just thought I was a bit different. I thought I was not like everybody else, but I didn't know why. And then a lot of my friends seem to have ADHD and autism, and I related to them, and I recognise the patterns that I see in myself in them as well. So I asked my doctor, and then I waited. I think it was 2 years for the autism one, and then like a year for my ADHD one. So yeah, it's been a learning journey recently.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that. I think that journey will resonate with a lot of people listening to this. Now, how we've met is because you're an entrepreneur, aren't you? And that's where we kind of want to talk to you in a bit more detail this evening. Because you are a designer, you're a fashion designer, but you've got this kind of neurodiversity slant, if I can put it like that, Arron, to your work, and we'll unpack that shortly. But can you talk me through then? As I said, your company is called Fool 22. How did your journey with neurodiversity actually then inspire your work around with fashion?
So there's several different ways. I've always been creative. I've always been like a very visual person. I think that's my dyslexia. I've always loved like maps and drawing and art classes. I've always really enjoyed them. They were sort of like my hyper focus throughout high school. Me and my friends used to sit in the art classroom during lunch, and then I loved doing my art GCSE as well, which was good. So because I'm a visual person and because I didn't really understand the world growing up, I think that was my autism and like the anxiety of the social interaction and stuff and not knowing what's appropriate. Yeah, I think growing up I loved geography because that sort of explained all aspects of the world. It explained the physical aspects, it explained the population change, and it also explained the why. And like I've learned with my autism, if you explain the why, it makes a lot more sense, or things make a lot more sense, because I can sort of process it a lot better if I understand the why. So yeah, from the age of 14, I wanted to be a high school geography teacher. Yeah, that was my plan. So I went to college, studied geography, photography, English combined, which is literature and language. And then I studied photography, psychology, English combined, and then I did photography for a year as well. So again, they're all about understanding the world, or psychology is about understanding the brain, and English is about understanding the language. So I think that stems from my autism, my dyslexia, my ADHD, and just how much I wanted to sort of develop my understanding and always learn as well. So then I did my courses, went to Chester University, got my geography degree. It started out really well, but my last year was during COVID, which was a bit annoying. Because everything changed, all the coping mechanisms, all the things I had in place that would help me get through life, they weren't there anymore. There was a new set of rules that I didn't know about. So then I went to my doctor after speaking to a few of my friends, and then I mentioned it about the autism. After a few years, I was diagnosed, but then there was no real support afterwards, and no like educational things, which really like burnt me out trying to like find it on my own. Yeah, so I did so then I noticed, so I learned about autism. I did my best to find like the most appropriate things, because there's a lot of things out there that's not correct or not appropriate anymore. And then once I started looking into it, I figured out there are some aspects of my personality or some aspects of me that don't quite fit with autism. But doing more reading about autism and connecting with like people on LinkedIn like yourself who share stuff about neurodiversity, I learned that I had ADHD as well. And I was like, oh, that makes sense, that like that emotional dysregulation, that inertia that I'm always feeling, the speed and stuff like that. And I didn't even know, before I got diagnosed, I didn't really know that combined ADHD was a thing, because you don't really hear about it. You hear about the one that's like, I can't remember what it's called. Yeah, you think about the one that's like with the kids running about. I can't remember what it's called right now.
Oh, you mean hyperactivity
That
kind
one,
of side
yeah.
with ADHD? Yeah, I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of stereotypes around some of these neuro differences, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what's fascinating so far as part of your story to listen to you talk, you're very you've got a real emotional intelligence, Arron, about how they can interplay and how they impact on you, which I think, for a lot of folks listening with this will really find insightful and resonate with them as well. So, yeah, so you felt that when you realised you had ADHD, it didn't necessarily, I suppose, reflect who you thought you were, because you were thinking about almost the hyperactivity, maybe part of it.
Yeah, so I didn't even know that there was like emotional parts or aspects like that. I just thought it was like, no offense, like I just thought it was you're always late and you can't sit still and all that.
Yeah.
Which I do anyway. But yeah, I didn't really link it together until I'd done all the learning. And again with the autism, like I used to hyper focus before I was diagnosed on stuff, but I didn't know it was a hyper focus because I wasn't aware.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I during COVID finished my geography degree, and then moved back to Manchester, where I'm from, well, Salford, and I got accepted to do my PGC teaching course at Manchester Metropolitan University, which is like a great course. I learned so much about like teaching and education and stuff, but because it was still during like the end of COVID and the placement was with like 600 students, and at this time I hadn't even been diagnosed.
Yeah.
I just had dyslexia, anxiety and depression, so I wasn't aware of my autism or my ADHD. But now I'm like, oh, it's because I was around a lot of students. There's like 600 people in a school, and then all the noises and the sensory issues that triggered my anxiety, and then so I ended up dropping out, which I hated at the time because I was deviating from my plan that I'd had since I was 14. But then I got a job at a mental health charity called STAR, based in Salford. And then work on like social prescribing and mental health, and it's all about improving the well-being. So they have like photography sessions and woodwork sessions and pottery. And I was on their reception. So I was just engaging with loads of different people. I was learning every day. Yeah, but then it got a bit too much for me. I was a bit burnt out, but again, because I wasn't aware, because I hadn't done the learning, the teaching or whatever, I didn't know what was happening to me. But then once I knew it was burnout, I told my manager, I discussed the adjustments, and then I ended up reducing my hours. So I reduced my hours to 2 days, and then I started working for another charity, which is based in London, I believe, called Uncommon, and they're a neurodiversity charity that focuses on peer support, and it have like different online Zoom sessions for the kids. So I'm now a club assistant for them, and it's so inspiring, just like talking to the little kids, well, not little kids, just young people, and it's amazing, like hearing them talk about like alexithymia and checking in and stuff like that, and I'm like, it gives me like hope for the future.
That's good.
So
you still got your connection to young people, which was part of your original plan to think about going into education.
So I always found that I always wanted to understand the world, to help people sort of recognize their place in it, or recognize their own positionality and the influences that affect them. And then I wanted to potentially help them be their authentic selves. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do with Full 22 now. It was diagnosed with ADHD and autism. And then during this time, there was no real support. There was no like therapy services that would fit my needs, where I wouldn't have to sit there for most of my time and explain, oh yeah, this is alexithymia, or this is autism. And it just really annoyed me, because if I spend half a session explaining to a psychologist that what autism or what ADHD or what dyslexia is, I'm not really getting the same amount of time as a neurotypical person, because they don't have to explain as much as I do. You know what I mean? They don't have to make sure that other people understand as much. That loss of equity really annoyed me. And then I tried getting referred to. I tried finding services and looking for them, and there was like a few around, but I wasn't aware of a lot. Apart from like the national autistic, like the big ones and stuff like that. So then I've started studying my level 3 in understanding autism online, just so I can understand more about autism and other neurodiversities that aren't just from my perspective. Because I don't experience all the traits of autism. and different people are at different stages of whereas they are on the spectrum. So yeah, I'm studying to do that, and then I've just done a peer support training. And then during this time, when there was no therapy, because I was working at a mental health charity that focuses on like creative well-being, I was getting back into my art and getting back into my drawing, and like now I look back on my life, I'm like, oh yeah, I did have ADHD. I was trying to learn a different art form every other month. Like that was my special interest. But now it's like I'll be in a session, not in a session, but I'll be in work on a Monday, Tuesday, and I just do the admin stuff. I just upload stuff now and like make sure all the data is correct and stuff like that, which I do enjoy. All technical stuff. I think that's my autism, because I'm helping like the processes and the structures and how that works. But that does bring me joy, uploading people's like questionnaires and stuff, saying that they've like improved from last time. But yeah, I was using this, like I really started developing this social prescribing sort of ethos, and then I started drawing my own artwork based on my neurodiversities. So this is stuff based on, I have one called Clouded Thoughts, I have one called People Change People.
Yes.
And then I've had a few Halloween designs as well, and it's just based on my like artwork. So at first I started out looking for manufacturers, like different manufacturers, and then I finally found one that's based in the UK, and they're really sustainable, and all the packaging is sustainable, which really resonates with me with like my geography notes, and like the future and stuff. It brings me hope. Yeah, so then now I am selling my artwork on like t-shirts and jumpers and bags. I've been looking for grants from local like organizations and to improve like my tech setup and stuff like that. I'm hoping to one day potentially, once I get the store up and running sustainably, I'm hoping to one day maybe use that funding to possibly set up a peer support network, because I've just done some peer support training with a company called With You, and it was amazing. It was all the skills that I wanted to learn, but I didn't know how, like sitting with silence and like using your reflection, because I think, like you said before about my emotional intelligence, I think that's come from how reflective I am. And I think I have reflected on a lot of points, and then I've always tried to focus on what I can learn from that. And I think that's helped my resilience grow. And I think that's made me a lot stronger as well. Yeah, and then now I'm possibly thinking about setting up a peer support network and just reaching out to people. Yeah, and like getting to know like more neurodiverse people and spreading my artwork. I'm coming up with designs all the time. Yeah, I hope to one day maybe fill the gaps that there are. So maybe like the post-diagnostic support or the signposting, or maybe even like peer support groups that could just offer, because the amount of, I think we've talked about this before in our entrepreneur groups, but the amount of joy and support that I've had from the neurodiverse community has been amazing. Like the Neurobox entrepreneur program, having that meeting like every other week, it's kept me focused on the store and developing the different skills. So now I'm looking at developing like the marketing skills and the online shopping skills and stuff like that. And then yeah, I'm hoping one day it develops into something bigger. But currently, like, we've only been running a couple months. So yeah, I'm just hoping that it will help people.
Yeah, really exciting, Aaron, and I'm sure it will. Thank you for sharing that. It's such an interesting journey, because I think you've gone off into something very unexpected, but actually, like you say, when you look back, it kind of makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like.
So no, I was just thinking, and please do share. how did you jump from, you were doing your art, because like you said a number of times, you're a very creative person, and then do you think, yeah, actually, I think I'm going to put these on a t-shirt and create a company? Talk a little bit about that kind of almost leap from you enjoy doing creative things to then thinking, actually, I'm going to start designing t-shirts and bags and so on.
Yeah. So I've always been interested in designing t-shirts. When I was in high school,
Okay, yeah.
I used to paint. I've got one with like the Manchester Bee painted on it, which I used to love. But it wasn't a sustainable method for me because I was getting. I have a really good imagination and I can picture the design that I want. But when I was younger, if the thing that I created wasn't exactly the same as that, so I suppose it's my like perfectionism. I used to get really frustrated, and then I used to get dysregulated because of my ADHD, and then that used to cause my anxiety and depression. So I recently found out about like third-party manufacturers and drop shipping. So I could make the design and then someone else could manufacture it. So that made it accessible for me.
Yeah.
And then really it was because I reduced my hours, I was looking to like top up my income a little bit and sort of take that autonomy back because I felt like I was working for everyone else. I felt like I was burning myself out trying to help everyone else. And the CEO of the charity that I work for, Start, she even said to me, she was like, you've got to like do something for yourself first. You can't give from an empty cup. And that was when I realized I have to start like noticing and taking a moment to reflect on myself before I can see what I can give people. So I think finding out about drop shipping, so like the technological advancements, I suppose that's helped. I've always been pretty creative, and then I think I wanted to improve my financial situation because it took me ages to get PIP as well. When I was diagnosed with autism, I applied like 2 months after, and then I was denied, and I was like, okay. And then a year later, I was like, I'll wait till I get my ADHD diagnosis, because there's no point on me reapplying and then reapplying. So I waited a year, got my ADHD diagnosis, and then I reapplied, and it was a lot easier this time because it was on the phone. I didn't have to go in person. And then and the needs assessor said on the phone, I can see your report from last year and I can see that you've got work considerably worse. And I was like, yeah, it's because I didn't have the correct support. But yeah, it was really like to help me through my mental health issues and sort of help me develop. I found that if I didn't see that path forward or I didn't see that development or where I could grow, then I'd feel like stagnant, and then feeling stagnant, that would make me feel dysregulated. So like we talked about in my peer support training, I think it was like providing like hope for people who have been there, and that path forward and that knowing what I'm going to do next sort of helps me process and helps me plan things. So now I've reduced my hours to 2 days. I'm working out in common on Tuesday on a Wednesday in the groups. And then I'm doing different training, and I'm doing most of it like from Zoom, which helps me a lot because I don't have to worry about my sensory issues. I just have to train my dog to not bark, but it's doing pretty well soon. So, yeah.
I guess from what you share, you're giving back so much. I loved what one of your mentors said, you can't give from an empty cup. So it's about making sure that you're in a good place before you are giving back in the way that you do. And I've seen your designs, they're absolutely brilliant. And how much of what you design at Field 22, how much of that is, yes, it's an artistic expression, but how much of it is important that you're giving back to the community in terms of being proud of who we are, having an identity, feeling that you're part of a tribe. Is that a key part of the messaging as well, do you think, Arron, for the design work that you do?
Yeah, definitely. I tried to make the values of Full 22 understanding, authenticity, and I can't remember the third one because I only invented them a month ago. But yeah, I spent 2 years. I spent more than 2 years masking. I spent most of my life masking.
Yes.
And that had a detrimental effect on my mental health. But again, because I wasn't aware of it, I couldn't do anything about it. Yeah. So I think that's the other thing. It's awareness.
Yeah. And you've mentioned sustainability as well. And I think when we're designing clothes nowadays, that's so important, isn't it, to us all, that there's this sustainability element to it as well for the environment. So
the manufacturer that I'm using, if you get like a hole in any of your clothes or stuff, you can send it back for store credit. So they use recycled materials. It's drop shipping, so there's not like a lot of stock made and then wasted, which reduces the amount of like resources that are being used. So if you order something from my site, like that's been made for you, that item, I suppose. Which I kind of love. Because it's sort of like a printing process.
It makes it really special, I think, doesn't it?
Really I've always been about sustainability and making sure things can sort of run for the future. I think I'm very like future orientated, and I think that I hope one day that it sort of stems forward, and then we can maybe make more systems in the UK more sustainable, and then that'll help everyone. I think if everyone learns to be their authentic selves, I think, and understands where they are in the world, I think that the world would be a lot better place, because people would know how to get from one place to another, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect
sense. Develop more.
Yeah, it's so inspirational. How much do you think your journey as an entrepreneur taps into your strengths as a neurodivergent person? Is being an entrepreneur a good fit for you as a neurodivergent individual?
It depends on the day, to be honest.
Really, yeah, that's a really honest answer. Do share what you're thinking when you're saying that.
Yeah, some days I have the capacity to go into all the different groups and like process all the different information and share with people and network.
Yeah.
And then some days I don't have that capacity and I just want to sit in my bed and watch TV. But like, as there's different aspects of the job, so there's like marketing, there's making the actual designs, there's doing the social media stuff. I'm trying to learn the different skills so then I can make that work for me.
Yeah.
And I can work from my point of view. So I've heard a lot of people saying like work with your ADHD or work with your autism. So now it's like, if I've got energy, I'll do something about it. Yeah. So I'd say
again,
it really
it's the authentic part of that journey, isn't it? It's the honesty factor about, I think a lot of people will resonate with that, Arron, but a lot of folks are masking because they don't want people to know that about themselves. But when we speak of that and you talk about that up and down sometimes journey you may go on, I think it gives others permission to be able to feel okay about that and then maybe share themselves as well. Yeah,
a lot of people have said to me that I'm a very like open person, and I never used to understand why, but I sort of get it now. It's like when you first meet me, I can be really like nervous and really jittery, and then I will probably end up masking. But if it's like the second time I meet you, or if I meet you on like a one-on-one and I start body doubling, my mask will drop and I'll be like, "Hiya, I'm Arron, how you doing?" And then because I have that growth mindset where I want to learn and I want to sort of understand how people work and how I can help people, I love learning about new people. I love learning about like where they're from and what's influenced them, and I think it links in with my geography as well, and like that additionality and the different aspects of the social culture. Yeah, I'm a very like big picture person sometimes, and then I think that's my autism as well, see like the pattern identification.
It sounds like all the different parts of you, things that you've enjoyed, your ambitions around being, you know, connected to the geography world, but then you become creative. It sounds like actually now all those parts of you have come together to make you who you are now going into 2025, with, you know, lots of exciting projects around your fashion and so on. What are your hopes then into next year for Field 22 for your fashion brand?
Next year, I'll go into the new year. Probably say I'd love to get some like more sales, more like engagement on my social media sites. So there is more like general awareness. I have an idea to maybe put some signposting links on my website. So then if you do come to shop, there is like a space that is like maybe educational, or maybe we'll signpost you to the different sites. And then long term, I'm hoping to possibly set up like a peer support network. So I finish my peer support training at the end of January. I finish my level 3 autism at the end of January. And then I'm hoping to potentially work with other organisations as well, and maybe make t-shirt designs for them, and maybe have some like cooperation, and then also just like network with other facilitators as well, and possibly get I've been thinking about possibly getting my AET qualification, so I can like facilitate groups by myself as well.
Which brings it back to you thinking about going into teaching and everything.
Yeah.
If these are similar skills and transferable. For those listening who feel very inspired by you, and it's really hard not to, Arron, once we listen to you talk, because I'm thinking, I need one of your t-shirts. I need to be on these ANND broadcasts. As lovely as my Succeed with Dyslexia one is, I want to get one of yours, I think, in the not too distant future. But I know where to go. But please do share, for those who aren't sure, where can we find where your wonderful t-shirts are? So we're looking at Field 22. So over to you. You share where we can go and find your online shop.
Yeah, so we're on Instagram, Facebook. It's Fool 22. It's all spelled out. There are no spaces. So it's FOOL TWENTY We're on Instagram, Facebook. I've been doing a few TikTok things, but I am not a pro on TikTok. Yeah, and then I have a website, which is 2 seconds, which is fool22.timo.com. Yeah, and then that has some of my stores on there, and then also I have a link on my LinkedIn as well.
Fantastic.
And anyone can message me and connect with me and stuff like that. If you have any ideas or any comments or anything helpful as well, I love getting feedback.
That's lovely to hear. So give us the address of your website again. So Fool22.
Do you want me to see if I can share my screen with it? Oh.
It's up to you. We sometimes have problems sharing screens. We can definitely share it afterwards, so don't worry about that. But if we just Google Fool22, all one word, it will take us to the right place, will it, Arron, where we can find you?
It's better if you search it on Instagram.
Okay.
And the link in my bio sends you directly to the page.
Perfect. Yeah, that's good to hear. I just want to make sure that anyone's thinking about some Christmas presents might want to head over. That's brilliant. Thank you. I want to share it again, Arron, because it did come up okay then.
So, 2 seconds. Select okay.
This is where the technology works or doesn't work, isn't it, when we're live in this way? But while we're waiting for everything to load, do any of the coalition members who's listening to this conversation want to ask Arron anything before we share the contact details? Oh, brilliant. Thank you, Arron.
Well, can you see it?
Yes, we can. There it is. It says building a store to support the neurodivergent community. How wonderful. Turning my neurodivergent designs into wearable art. Brilliant. We'll leave that up, Arron, while we see if our other coalition members have got any questions for you.
I would like to ask a question, if that's okay, Donna.
Yes, please do, Kay.
I made loads of notes, Arron, while you were talking. I was particularly interested in, and my other colleagues might also be interested in this, is around that post-diagnosis support. My work is all around sort of pre-diagnosis and signposting people to assessments and how they can get assessments. And I think we often forget about that post support. We do offer some advice to help people understand their diagnosis reports. But I was just wondering if you felt that because you talked about peer support, do you think peer support is the way forward for post-diagnosis support?
I know, particularly in, I think in Greater Manchester, or maybe, I don't know if the NHS is going towards that, down that line, but I believe it is. I believe it's using more peer support methods from my personal experience, because I've just started with Uncommon, and that's peer support, and then we're doing peer support stuff at start. So yeah, I think for me personally, again, it links to that community and that sense of being on the same playing field. I suppose. I think I've connected more with other people that I can just share my thoughts with, rather than clinicians or doctors. And I think having that element of peer support would probably make it more accessible. And then also, it's like, if it's a paid role, then it would provide more jobs for neurodiverse people. So that's sort of like my path, because I was diagnosed with autism, and I didn't really receive any support. It was just like, okay, but I was like, oh, at the end of it, I was like, oh, right, so I know I've got it now, so
what next?
I was like, what next? What does this mean though? Why? So I was like, well, why don't they send out training courses on autism before, like, while you're in the waiting period? Or why don't they like automatically signpost you to other services, but then do some research? There's not a lot of services in my area, so it depends on like the availability and stuff. So yeah, I'd love to set up like a peer support network, because I've experienced a lot of joy giving as well, and I want to sort of link that to the 5 ways of well-being, and then see if I can like sort of improve people's well-being as well.
I love that, because I think you've already got a bit of a tagline, or there's a tagline there, not a hashtag. I don't understand hashtags. I'll just confess that right now. But you talked about explaining the why, and I love that. Wouldn't that be lovely to have a course that just says explain the why? That would be amazing.
Yeah, because I found for me, like, a lot of my anxiety, a lot of the issues that I was having around social interaction is because I didn't understand why that was appropriate. I didn't understand why it wasn't appropriate. I didn't understand why I shouldn't say that, or why I should be so quiet, if that makes sense. So I think explaining the why to people, it allows people to fill in that gap, and maybe allows the processes to flow better, or it does for me anyway.
Yeah, it's that self-awareness, isn't it? I guess it's difficult because it's so nuanced, though. No, so you've sparked a few things going off in my brain right now, for sure. So thank you for that.
That's good to hear, Kay. I think what Arron brings, as we always try and do in our get-togethers, is this authenticity, isn't it? It's about, it's nothing about us without us. It's that sense that we have to, the voices come from our own community in that way, isn't it? Working together, peer to peer, reaching out to each other, that connection, that authentic voice, really. Before we
Oh,
share the
sorry,
coalition, yeah, I was just going to say,
I
Sue,
just
do you have a
wanted to say,
question?
no, I just
Any
wanted to say
thoughts?
we do offer that peer support. We have two groups doing that, one locally in the Thames Valley and one online.
That's brilliant, Sue.
And although it's meant for dyslexic people, people don't fit into one box, do they?
Yeah.
We all have a bit of this and a bit of that. Yeah. I just wanted to say as well that you're probably very encouraging for people just to follow their dream. Some people will think, I can't, I've just got to do an ordinary job that I don't fit into, and I've got to put up with it. And I think you're great encouragement there. You've given great encouragement there for people to think, well, actually, I want to do X, I'm going to do it. Yeah. So thank you, Arron. Yeah.
I think it was linked to a lot of shame as well when I reduced my hours from full-time to part-time and then part-time. I felt like I was sort of less than because I wasn't on the same level as a neurotypical. I had to sort of unlearn that and figure out what works for me, and that's better for me.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Arron, thank you so much, as Sue said, for a really inspirational conversation, which I hope inspires people to think about following their dreams in that way. I'm going to share then, as we've mentioned, guys, the contact details for the various family members within our coalition. So let me just make sure that we've got the right information here. This is always the bit that makes me nervous. Right, so here we are. We've heard from our coalition members this evening, from our different associations. A lot of them have helplines, and you've heard Sue talk about the peer support group that they have over at the Adult Dyslexia Centre, amongst many other work that they do. Here is their helpline, contact details, email address, phone number. We also have Yorkshire Rose here, helpline, phone number and email. And Pat had shared this evening she'd gone 2 days without anyone reaching out, so, which is very rare. I know in your part of the world, Pat, you'd probably be super busy tomorrow. Having said that,
well, my only regret now is that Arron isn't near her, else if it wasn't that Pennines in between us, I'd nab him and have him over here immediately. It would be really good to have.
He might not mind travelling to come to your festival, Pat.
Well, I'm thinking of the festival for sure.
Yeah. So there's Yorkshire, and as Pat's saying, she's got a festival in March. Maybe she's going to nab Arron to be one of her attendees. We've got Hampshire here, their helpline email address, and we've heard from Sue McKenna this evening. We heard Kay ask that great question of Arron, didn't she? She's from the Dyslexia Association in Nottingham. Here are their contact details, the helpline, phone number. Succeed with Dyslexia, talking about t-shirts. I have a Succeed with Dyslexia t-shirt on. They don't have a helpline, but what they do is they've got lots of brilliant free videos amongst many issues around many neurodivergent differences, lots of webinars, everything free. So that's a great service they provide. Neurobox, and you heard Arron this evening talk about the Neurobox entrepreneur scheme, and that's how we met each other. So yeah, Neurobox do a lot of great work beyond the entrepreneur scheme. They offer training, assistive technology support, workplace needs assessments. So they work with adults specifically around the world of work. There is their contact details. And then last but certainly not least is Helen Arkell Dyslexia Charity. My goodness, they do a lot of great work around supporting children and families and adults as well, with assessment and training, and the lots and lots of other work that they do. Fantastic, valuable work in the dyslexia community. Again, there's their contact details and their website link. And that just leaves me to say a huge thank you to everybody listening to this. We will share links from Fool 22. I'm saying it right, aren't I, Arron? I'm not great with numbers, but it's such a brilliant name. Now watch this space, guys. You've heard it at ANND first. Fool 22, Arron Ashton, a name to remember. He's on the rise as an entrepreneur. So thank you, Arron. It's been such a pleasure to chat with you. And listen, everyone, watch this space, because in the not too distant future, you're going to see me in one of Arron's t-shirts hosting these events. So thank you, everyone. We've recorded this session just as we go into the festive season. So from our families, from our coalition to your families, and to your homes. Have a wonderful festive season. It's been a great 2024 here at AND, and we look forward to seeing you next year for some more great conversations. Until next time, everyone, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron.
Nice meeting you, Aaron.
It's nice meeting you too.